session. Let me even go to the flyer. But the whole, even though it's my face that was on the flyer, the idea today is we want to have a bit more of a conversation so anybody can chime in, particularly those who have written the exam. So already I have two people with me. One is not yet in here. So we have Ahmed Oyelowo. He already has the certification. How do I mistakenly muted you? I wanted to put you spotlight. How do I do that? Great. So you might have to mute yourself. Okay. So there are three of us who will be co-presenting, and any other person too wants to chime in. So there's no rigid structure to today's agenda. It's more of walking you through the exam, and it's being recorded. I know a lot of people who, when they see the title, they will want to watch. They will ask me for the recording. Anything that relates to certification typically piques people's interest. Okay, so there's going to be me, Ahmed, and then there's Oyelowo and Olafusi, but he is going to join us much later into the session, so I'm not able to spotlight him yet. Okay, so now I'm going to go straight, first of all, to the website for the exam. So at least let's start with what Microsoft says, and then from there the conversation will start. Let me grab for us the Microsoft link. So for me, I wrote the exam last year of March because I really was not happy that they want to invalidate the one I wrote before, which was MSc. I've forgotten the code again now, something behind like the previous one that was 7.
MCSA.
Yes, MCSA. I'm like, that's why I stopped doing Cisco. I don't like the ones where you do exam and it expires. There's no exam that I've come to this world to write. So, but that doesn't undermine the value. I'm just saying why it took me so long to do the exam. This is the exam website. This is the exam. So I'm going to let Ahmed start first of all. He has what about your course that is just purely for the exam? Is there any opening right now, or there's a session already going on?
Okay, so I'll just briefly talk about the fact that we just started the session for this cohort yesterday.
Oh, okay. I hope it's not too late for some people to join.
Well, I would say that it's not too late because we always have the sessions recorded as well. So you can always go through the session, and we've really not started to dive deep into, the very technical details, right? So, but talking about the exams as well, I think one of the things I've realized that acts as a benefit as to why you need to have the certification is not only because, number one, you are going to kind of like validate your own knowledge with certificates. That's one. Then number two, is not in all countries that they really value certificates. Some places, they just want you to be able to do, to carry out the functions of what they need, and they don't really care about your certificate. However, having the certificate for me gives you a leg into so many other opportunities in terms of, number one, if you really study hard for the certificate, if you study well for the certificate, then it means that you'll be able to scale through most interviews, right? You'll be able to scale through most tests that can come across your way, because the content basically covers, I would say, let's say 90% of what is essential in Power BI that everybody needs to know, okay? And another thing is, it also opens up other opportunities for you in terms of, when you pass this exam, for example, you can become an MCT, that's a Microsoft Certified Trainer. And when you're an MCT like that, there are a lot of opportunities that comes with being an MCT. And I want to say that I don't know. If you're an MCT, you must have gotten people contact you on LinkedIn. They are looking for trainers that will train courses, that are Microsoft courses, and these guys are ready to pay as high as maybe 400 euros per day or $400 per day. And you can go for, let's say, if you do a 4 days training, for example, at $400 a day, that's $1,600. They are going to get for that training. You are going to be training people online, you know. So there are so many other benefits like that that come with certification. So, and to now add is, you know, Michael was saying that the previous exam was MCSA. MCSA was more difficult to obtain than this new examination that is role-based.
That one was 2 exams.
Yeah, apart from the fact that it's even 2 exams, right? The Power BI exams, they are like similar in terms of the questions and that, but during MCSA, we did not have like tailored resources like we have now. That's number one. Then number two, this particular DA-100 is kind of like easier to pass than the 778. So everybody that knows Power BI should just take it. That's why I'm still trying to push people that I know in the group that already have enough knowledge to write the exam. People are just scared. That's just it.
Yeah. And so for me, I'll just share my own journey of the exam because it's a bit still fresh in my head. So I did the exam 31st of March. So that's barely 12 days now. So that's like 11 days ago. And well, maybe personally, I think it looked tougher to me than the 771. I don't know.
I'll talk about how Microsoft exams work internally when you're done. So, yeah.
Okay, great. So for me, let me quickly walk everybody through what I found out, my own experience, and then again, if anybody here has done the exam too, you can chime in, or even if you have not done, but you're already preparing and you want to share his ideas, tips, you're welcome. So, you know, as it is, the first thing is you go to the website of the documentation for the exam. So the first thing that caught my eye was that, oh, they've updated the curriculum. So from March 23, some things will be changed. So I was trying to look for, okay, what's it that has changed? And so, you know, naturally you scroll down, you see some details. This thing looked very similar to the way they broke it for when it was the MCSA BI one. Then I scrolled further down. But more importantly is I downloaded this skills outline. So I have it open. Let me just bring it up. So this is that skills. Oh, I need to share my entire window. Let me do that. Okay, great. So I think with this, it should show my entire. Fortunately, I can't see. Great. So I downloaded this and I was reading through. So what are the things they want me to be able to do? So I was like, this is me trying to think out loud what was going in or say out loud what was going in my head. Like, okay, I think I know these ones, how to connect to data sources. I think I know these. I think I know. I'm like, what's Microsoft Dataverse? That was the way. I'm like, which one is Microsoft Dataverse? So I found out that it was actually something I already know that was renamed. So I think it was is common data service that is now Dataverse, right? Now I'm beginning to forget what it is.
Yes, so that's CDS.
Okay, so I found out that there are some things that I use that the name has changed. Yeah, common data service. So I'm like, okay, so I read up on that. Okay, I felt I knew parameters. Then PIBDS file, like, come across it somewhere, but I don't think I know it. If they ask me any question on this, I'm most likely going to not be able to answer. So I went and checked more on it, and it's like a models what's the right word to use? So,
Power BI data
it's
sets.
yeah, I have even forgotten the usage experience. I know I dug a bit into it to find out. Okay, so how will I use? Yeah, it's almost so to me it was almost like an ODBC kind of replica. The way we use ODBC sometimes in Excel to be able to connect to just anything. So this one created like a common framework that you can use to just set up a connection to any data source. That was what came up from my reading it and all, but I never had a practical scenario where I had to do it. So I had to just read up on that one. Oh, data flow. I use XMLA. Again, it's I've not used it, but I think I've come across it. I had to read up more on it. So and then I scrolled some more down. I don't think I even looked at all these other ones. And all this my looking was like, how many days to the exam? So I said, okay, let me check. Okay, this looked still same as what it was when I was doing the MCSA, and also I felt, and when I was doing the MCSA, there was a book that I used. I think I did the. Okay, no, I didn't use it. It was my colleagues I had to give the book because I did it when it was in beta version. So no book, no anything, and then you wouldn't know until like 2 months or 1.5 months when they now give results. So I was like elated when I passed it. So in summary, for me, it was just going through this material and trying to figure out what are the things I don't normally use in my day-to-day. I don't use paginated report. I have not created paginated reports. I had to do a bit of refresher on my mind, my knowledge on that. And what are the common, so why I'm saying this is for people too who maybe they look at it and they feel there are so many things there that can be a bit scary, maybe because you don't use them. Well, I do trainings and same experience for me. So like Ahmed keeps saying, nothing should deter you. So I think so that's the message I just wanted to pass across at this stage, that yes, you will come across some things that you will feel are things completely new to you. Don't let them be the determining factor of whether you take it. And I like something Ahmed once said, I think it was on LinkedIn, where you said it will only keep getting more, like with the new features they keep adding, the more you delay, the amount of work you are putting up for the future. So that's what I wanted to say here. Ahmed, I don't know what else you want to.
So basically, that's what anyone that wants to write the exam will have to do. You need to download this skills outline and tick everything you think you know. If you know like majority of what is here, then you are really ready to write the exams. Then can you go back to the DA-100 documentation page?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
So from my right here, from my interaction with people, I've realized that most people don't want to write the exam because they feel like they don't know DAX. That's why they don't want to take the exam. They want to know DAX before they take the exam. But DAX is a very long journey. And I'm going to tell you that you don't need to be a DAX guru to write and pass this exam. You need to have like a foundational knowledge. And one thing I know that will really work well for anyone that wants to study is you need to focus on your strength areas, right? So we can see that they categorize this into 5 different areas. We have prepare the data, which is basically Power Query. Then you have model the data. That's where data model and DAX comes in. There's visualize data and analyze data, which are both very close. When you create a visual and you try to interpret the visual, that's when you say you're analyzing the data. Then there is deploy and maintain deliverables that has to do with the things that happen when you publish your reports online. How do you share and all of those things? So if you look at this, you will see that even if you don't know DAX, you can leverage your strength on the other 4, and you're still going to pass. Because I always tell people that, for example, there is nothing stopping you from scoring 100% of all the questions that come from prepare the data, right?
Yeah.
Because Power Query is not really that difficult, considering the fact that you don't really need to learn any coding. Just learn the basics of Power Query and you're fine. Visualize the data, follow standard visualization rules, and you can answer any questions on that. Analyze data is basically the same thing. The two of them, I can't really differentiate what it is in terms of how the questions are going to come. Then for deploy and maintain deliverables, that's the tricky part where most people are going to fall short, because not everybody have deployed reports before. So what you do for this one is to basically just go to the material, which probably Michael is going to show us after this. Go to the material and make sure you read up on that area extensively. And if you do that, you are ready to take this exam and pass.
Okay. So one other thing I know people want to know about is the registering for the exam. So what's the registration process like? If you look at my screen, so you'll notice that right there on the exam documentation page, I think I've pasted this before. Let me just paste it again. Right here on this documentation page, you'll see how you can register. Now, the problem is if you look at this initial amount, you might start wanting to push the date further into the future or begin to waver in your readiness for writing it. The truth is, I don't think anybody ever pays this exact amount here in Nigeria, because our own fee is different. If I change this to Nigeria, the fee is going to reduce. And even if you are not from Nigeria, I think that US and just a few countries are at that price point. Most other countries are at a cheaper price point. So if I change this to Nigeria, you see it has come down to 80. And if you can, I don't even think they ask for proof, but if you think COVID-19 has impacted you, negatively, you can even indicate, go with this offer of want to do it for $15. And once you do that, it means you are going to have to do, I think it's going to be always from home for, if you go with this $15 one. I don't think they let you do that one from Pearson VUE. But anyway, what I want to point out is registering for the exam is quite straightforward, and more importantly is you will not pay $165. And unfortunately, before now, you could have participated in a Microsoft challenge, Microsoft Cloud Challenge. I don't know if they will do it again, but they just finished end of last month, where with the challenge you get an exam voucher, and this Power BI exam is one of the ones you could have applied the voucher for. I don't understand purely the application process, but I know people, that's the route they have used to book for the exam. So if you finish, there are some tasks they give you, which are tasks that are related to the training that they have made freely available. And once you complete those, they call them challenges, you can apply, they give you an exam voucher that you can use to write an exam in any of all of these. And unfortunately, they've ended it. So maybe they will, I guess maybe it's a pilot kind of one. And if they feel that this was even last year. So there was last year, then there was another one this year. Let me look for this year's one. So this year's zone just ended. See, they say it's finished. But then I'm just trying to let you know that there are many ways that you can pay much less than the 165. Okay, so if you go to some exam centers, they might give you at a Naira price or a local currency price that is even cheaper than this, because they are able to source for it a lot cheaper. Okay, so any other person in the house who has done the exam who wants to share his or her own experience? Anyone? So what do you think about people trying to use DOMs? Ahmed, what do you think? I would like to hear your own specific opinion.
Okay, so my opinion on DOMs is that, number one, at the beginning, I don't encourage DOMs because this is you trying to validate your knowledge on something. So you don't need DOMs to validate your knowledge. DOMs is basically past exam questions, and if you're able to find the correct one, like, people now sell scams of DOMs. Scams of DOMs, like maybe they are going to tell you that I have the 100 exam DOM, and then you purchase with money. However, the questions that are there are not really the real life questions, because what happens is Microsoft already has a bank of questions. So if two of us go to write the exams today, now we are going to see different set of questions. So the people that create these DOMs basically now go and write exams like multiple times, or maybe through multiple people, and they try to copy as many questions as possible. Then they will now take those questions and they will try to solve for the answers, because nobody really knows what are the 100% correct answers. So they solve for the answers and then they sell those DOMs. Okay. Now, my opinion is, even if you are going to use DOMs, I'm not encouraging that you use them, because DOMs basically violate Microsoft exam policies. But even if anyone wants to use them, maybe you have it for free or somehow, then you should basically just study for the exams first. Make sure you have done your proper study. Then you may now go and use your DOMs, right? I've seen people that have used DOMs and they have come to tell me that, okay, after using DOMs, they wrote the exam and they still failed. You know why? Because nobody knows the answers, right? So the person that created the DOMs has tried to solve for the answers, but the person is not able to, give you the accurate answers for everything. Because when you use DOMs like that, like I said, it always comes with bank of questions. Maybe from the person's DOMs, you are able to get like 30% of the questions, and then at the end of the day, you follow their own answers and still not pass. I've also seen people that have really studied using DOMs, and they get into exam hall and they don't see any question from the DOMs. That means they are left to use their own, the practical knowledge that they have, which is why instead of using DOMs, just prepare for the exams, you can pass. You even be happier when you pass without DOMs than when you pass with DOMs.
Great. So exactly your stance is what I also have, but there is an angle to it that I want to show. So I think Microsoft maybe see that a lot of people want to have a feel of the exam ahead, and so people will naturally, because that was why I typed what I typed in Google. You see, when I was trying to do the exam, even though I told you I had done the previous one when it was in a beta version, no books, no anything, and you get the code and you go and do the exam the next day. That was the way I booked it. I got the code today and I picked the next day to write the exam. But because it was free, there was no pressure, so I wasn't bothered about whether passing or failing. I just wanted to doing it was better than not just doing it, and I passed. Right, that was the 77 whatever code it was. So, but now that I paid money, so that's why I understand when people pay for things and they just want to plug gaps ahead, And I remember 2008. That year was year of exams for me. I did Oracle exams, Cisco exams. I think I did maybe 3 different exams that year. And the money they charged me, I was just starting live then. So it's not like I had that kind of money. So it's not the kind of, you pay for Cisco exam, you don't want to pay for it twice. So I understand that people also will have those kind of concerns. So I'm just trying to demonstrate that when I just came in and I typed, what's even the exam structure like? What have people said about the questions and all? And answers like these are what I came across, right? But then, more importantly, one of the answers pointed me back here. pointed me back here. So in here, Microsoft has, where is that place? I thought I was on that page before now.
It should be somewhere at the top.
Okay. He was
I think
on
that's
this.
the one after this tab. After this tab, the next one after this tab.
Okay. After here. I think maybe it was.
No, the next tab.
Okay. This tab, this tab. This.
Yeah.
Okay.
That should be
Well, how
it.
I got there is even where I wanted to show. Oh, okay, I've seen it.
Okay, there is
So,
somewhere. Yeah. Official practices. Yeah.
yeah. So Microsoft, I don't know how well it is in terms of maybe it's going to be the real exam, but then when you go through, and the person whose resource pointed me back here, mentioned it that the pattern is the same. They cover the same knowledge area, such that if you don't even get, and that maybe you shouldn't even expect to get the very same exams, but in doing this, you will be able to understand where your gaps are, and then you're able to go and strengthen yourself. And what you think you'll be able to practice on it, almost like when people who are trying to leave for Canada to go on some sites to go and do the IELTS prep. So they try to mirror the real questions so that you will feel the same kind of pressure and all, and same conditions. And if you're able to do very well there, hopefully you should do well in the real one. So that's what this. So for those who are interested in DOMS, and you definitely must use DOMS. Well, I would say this is the Microsoft approved one. From what you said, maybe DOMS is not the right word. I don't know who came up with the whole concept of calling them DOMS. So,
brain dump.
practice test or practice test, right? So, that's one. Then there is one interest.
I want to add something about this one. So another reason why this one is especially good is the fact that, unlike DOMS, the setup for this is like the setup for the exam. In terms of what you see on your screen is exactly the same thing, how the questions come. Now, if you've never written a Microsoft exam before, you are just going to be learning how to use the exam tool in the exam, which is going to eat into your time. But if you've used this practice test before, then you can actually, how will I put it now? If you use the practice test before, then you would have seen what the exam interface looks like ahead of time, because there is a very high likelihood that you may miss some questions in the real exam.
Yes.
And the reason is because the questions usually starts with a case study. Now that case study sits under one page. You have to click on, like, you have page 1 now, but under page 1, you have like 4 tabs for 4 different questions. If you don't go through it and you feel like you are basically just on question 1, you've answered question 1 and you go and click next, that means you've not answered 3 questions, right? So if you use this practice test, you would have seen something like that. And I don't know why this is showing $99 to $109 right here, but if you purchase from a Microsoft partner, it should be around something around maybe $25 to $30.
Oh, that's great.
So it's not really that expensive.
Oh, okay. So that's a nice tip for you to know, that you can even get it at a much cheaper price than what is actually showing here if you get it through a Microsoft partner. So something interesting happened. So when I Googled this, when I was about to do I think I Googled this 2 days, or the very day of the exam, no, 2 days to the exam. So one of the answers, one of the results that came up, let me look. Yeah, I think it's this one. So when I clicked on it, it says blah, blah. I'm not even sure I read what it said, but I saw go to 100 questions or go to DA-100 questions. And I clicked on it, right? And as you can see on my screen, it is instantly showing some questions, right? And I started reading it, and say once you read, you think you know what the answer is, you click expose, then it exposes the answer and blah blah. But something really interesting happened. I do Power BI for clients, and well, for all the clients I've worked for, project-wise, you can say training is easy to bullshit your way out of it, because as long as you know more than who you are training, they will not really know that you don't know. So training can not really be a true measure of your expertise, except there's someone in the class who really knows a lot well and is able to let you be aware that there are some things you don't know. But then when it comes to doing actual projects, that's where sometimes it begins to expose whether you know some formulas well or you know some things well. And when you also watch people, when I say watching, you follow people in the industry, so the guy in a cube, all those people who put out knowledge, put out information there. So sometimes, when the things they say are things you already have an idea about, you'll be like, okay, I think I know, and maybe you see things that they say, oh, this is new and awesome, the way the guy in the cube guys talk. And you're like, okay, I'm going to learn something really awesome. And you go and I know this already. Like, okay, maybe I'm good. Maybe I'm not that bad, right? But then I tell you the truth, when I was going through these questions, right, I saw things, I felt like this is really tougher than what I should see in real life. When I saw through some of the questions, I'm like, why would someone ask me some things like this? Let me show you one. Let me zoom this. You have a Microsoft SharePoint site con several documents that contain several documents. One of the document libraries contain manufacturing reports saved as Excel files. All the manufacturing reports have same data structure. You need to use Power BI Desktop to load only the manufacturing reports, right? It's just that I can't show you a client work. This same thing, I'm having a scenario exactly like this for an FMCG company. So they are putting some past data for me on OneDrive, which the environment is same structure with how you're going to connect to SharePoint, because even the old link shows up as a SharePoint. You see SharePoint in the name of the link. So, it's when I looked at it, I struggled with what answer to pick here. I'm like, this is a very niche kind of situation, right? That I had to maybe try and replay what did I do, to do it. And then I looked at the explanation to their own answer, pick C, edit the query and pick. At first, I was like, no, this is not the answer, because actually, when I did the stuff, I still did one last week, right? No, last week is yesterday. I did one yesterday. If you put the entire folder stuff, it's going to complain. It will tell you to put the root folder. When you put it in, it's going to list all of the files. Power BI will list all of the files, Power Query anyway. We list all of the files, even in different folders. It's unfortunate I can't show you because it's a client. So even when you have different folders in your Power BI, it's going to just list all the files that are in all the different folders. You will no longer be aware that there are different folders. That's the way it listed them in mine. So it was a very tricky today. I don't even know exactly, because when I try to redo the stuff, I'm not able to say which is which in the answer, because for me, I felt the answer was not this C. But then my mind was like, well, at least now it's preparing me to see what kind of questions. And so I'll go, they had these reference stuff. I'll go here and then I'll read more about, what Microsoft said about that particular scenario. Sometimes you won't even see something that is really, really that kind of a question. So now back to where the main shocker is. Remember what I said? I felt this question, they were tougher than what I think I will meet. In fact, they are tougher than what I met in the other one that I wrote without even prepping, and it was just some beta code I got from Microsoft. And guess what? Here, there are about how many questions? I think there are about 15 questions. Then I think if you want to go to the next page, they will tell you to pay or something. So I just didn't bother paying. I just, well, okay, at least this, I don't think I'll meet this kind of questions there. But guess what? I met this kind of questions there. I even met some that I think are like word for word. I'm like, this is really strange. And so for me, I felt like some of these questions are questions as if one has to go and read exactly, follow exactly what they have written here, and don't underestimate, don't think just because you've used this thing, you don't want to read Microsoft documentation on them. So but I didn't know. If I had known that if I had not underestimated it, though I still passed, I passed with 800 and something, but I was a bit embarrassed by some questions that I was struggling with, because I felt if it is to do it, I will do it. But now there are two answers I'm seeing that are looking like they are the answers. And then I'm like, this thing I do it, but I've never had to use this approach to do it. I've never had to worry about what they're asking me. There are sometimes more than one way to do the same thing. And here now they want to use a particular way. And I'm like seeing answers that look like two options that look like the same answers. So again, I'm just sharing my own experience that ultimately exactly what you said. I found out that in the end, there were the aspect that I was getting like 90 something percent, upper range of 80 something percent. And I think there was it was in one aspect I got 50 something or just close to 60%. I think it's the admin side. And even when I did the MCSA BI2, that was the aspect where I think I had the lowest score. Because to be sincere, not many of us go to start doing the admin side of Power BI.
That's why I said that section, which is that last section, you just need to read it over and over again to maximize the number of points you can claim. Then there is also something I wanted to show from that question that you were showing. I wanted to share one funny tip.
Okay.
Yeah, scroll up to that funny question, that's the SharePoint one.
Okay, great. This one.
So, yeah, you can help us zoom out. So now, because like you said rightly, you probably haven't tried out every type of connection, every type of scenario, and the exam is still going to ask you for it anyway. So one thing I've realized is anytime you are 100% unsure of the answer, 100%, and you have a wicked scenario like this, you will always see two options that are very long.
Okay.
Now the answer is one of them. So what you just have to do is look at the two options carefully and maybe try to manage. If you find a hint that you'll be able to eliminate one of them, that you can be sure, okay, this one is not the answer, then you just go for the other one. Now, you only use this when you are 100% unsure, like you know nothing about this, and you just realize that two options are just, very funny, and they are very longer than the other ones, and then the two of them again are very, very similar. Like, you rarely spot the difference. The answer is within those two that are very long.
Okay. Unfortunately, so it will be good for you guys that want to go and take the exam. Unfortunately, I walked in blind, but I guess I was lucky with some knowledge in some other areas that helped me out. So we've talked about the exam structure. We've talked about what Microsoft has put out there for you to be able to be aware of what they're going to measure you on. And then we've talked about some of the common things that detract people from doing the exam. So I know Ahmed has mentioned some of the benefits, but I think at this stage, maybe we should try and talk more about the benefits. So why should you do this exam? What's the advantage that there is to doing this exam? Let me let you go on. Well, let me see if our other guest has joined in.
Okay, so the primary benefit is, number one, you validate your own knowledge. Then number two, you are exposed to more opportunities in terms of resources. And when I say resources, I mean things like once you write a Microsoft exam and pass, you become a Microsoft certified professional, which basically qualifies you to, get some Microsoft resources and even discounts, for example. All right. It means that, for example, once you pass this one now, you can start to write other exams, maybe with a discount. I'm not too sure, or maybe you need to have an MCT before you access those discounts. But you have discounts on things like books, for example, Microsoft official books. You can purchase them at highly discounted rates. Then also, if you become an MCT, that's where everything is basically. That's where you have like all the Microsoft, what's it called? The entire Microsoft software license keys. That means you can use any Microsoft product for free without having to purchase a license key. That's one. Then there are also some other benefits attached to MCT, like some software tools, like what we used to do screen recording, for example, Camtasia. You get that for free. You get a license to Camtasia for free. You will also get a license to Snagit. Snagit is something you use to take screenshots. It's far better than sniping tool. There are so many things that you can use on Snagit. You get Snagit for free. You also get what again for free that is very interesting.
I think it comes with
you also get Azure credits, 100 USD per month. Then there is something else I know that is also free that I can't really remember now.
Okay. I know they give us also, you've mentioned it's software, right? All the software.
Software license.
I know also it comes with voucher for exams. You for some exams you pay half. It comes with discounts for exams. And Microsoft
75%. If you are MCT, you write at 75%, I think, up to 75% discount.
So, and then there are events too that they are just for MCT. So there's these global events they try to do across all the MCT. And we have regions. So Oluwaseyi Oluwenmiju is our MCT regional lead. And I know before he even became an MVP, that was where he was prominent. It was even what led him to becoming an MVP. And it was really, when he was MCT lead alone, Microsoft knew him, like Microsoft HQ. He was already organizing events that involved, Microsoft HQ sponsoring, getting speakers from different corners because they do a global event that will have local. So they try to do this MCT event that will be happening across the world at the same time, but different regions. So the regional leads would be the ones coordinating. So I know that for him, he got a lot of value out of being an MCT because he was actively making use of those community and resources and access to Microsoft, and ultimately led to him having the MVP too.
The reason why I just keep on saying MCT is when you pass an exam like DA-100 or any other role-based exam, it's like there's nothing stopping you from enrolling for the MCT program because the exam already qualifies you to become an MCT. Yes. So you just need to try to get the benefit. Apart from the fact that, you have to pay subscription on MCT, which is around $90 per annum. Of course, we've not paid for the last 1 year because
they waived it because of COVID.
Yeah. That's the only thing. That's the only catch. But the benefits that come with it are more than, like the Camtasia Studio, for example, is $250 if you are purchasing the license. So that alone is already more than the renewal.
Even the $100 per month is already more than the 1 year you are paid. And like you said, I'll even give you I call it a testimony. So when I got mine, a company called me in Nigeria here and they said they are trying to work out some Microsoft partnership, maybe gold level or silver level partnership, and they need a certain number of MCTs for them to qualify. So they've met all these other conditions, just the number of MCTs registered under, that are
to affiliate
affiliated
with them.
with them. And that was what, if you see the amount of effort they went through, I was not the first person they reached. Interestingly, the other people they reached, I know them. So, but that's how much that if I put a money figure to it, any conditions are put, they were willing to, as long as it's reasonable, they were willing to. And even before me asking, they were already trying to prove to me benefits that will come to me, that, things they are working on and how we're all going to be in it for profit. And so, yes, I see, and that's Nigeria. That's why when you are saying even global, the benefit is going to be a lot more. The value in money would be higher than what me I even experienced. So it's an exam that you should not look down on, even if you don't see immediate reason for you doing it. I can give you 3 immediate reasons right now. One is, it will only get tougher. When I say tougher, the curriculum will only get broader the more they keep adding more things. And the funny thing is, now Power BI is adding more to those aspects of Power BI that we don't usually use. So you see, they're adding more to the data flow, Power Query Online, the admin side, the Power BI paginated report. Those aspects that many of us don't typically interact with in our day-to-day work. So you find out that the amount of things you need to learn that will be new will keep growing if you don't do the exam right now. Number 2 is the benefits as regards the MCT is something that the earlier you start getting it. Somebody says he wants to be giving you some money every month. Is it not better to start getting the money from now than want to say, oh, you know what, don't give me now, let's wait until 2 years time before you start giving me every month. He didn't say he's going to give you, a fixed amount of money. He says, I'll keep giving you perpetually every month. You'll be like, can we start today? So that's the way I see the benefit that comes from the MCT. And the third one.
One very big benefit, which I forgot to mention, is that when you're an MCT, you have access to all Microsoft labs.
Yeah, I even don't take advantage of it that much. Yeah.
Which means you can basically just decide, okay, now I'm on Power BI and I want to go to Azure, right? I want to go to Azure. I want to go to, let's say, Azure Machine Learning, for example. Then I can access the labs for free to practice everything that is in the skills outline for that particular one, which means writing future exams now become even easier for you because you have all the resources that you need. And again, yeah, you'll be paying. And again, as an MCT again, Microsoft kind of has a resource for you for training. They call it Learning Download Center. So if you're an MCT, everything you need to train is available already, which means you don't really need to create your content afresh. Everything you need, the slides you will run, including videos on how you should actually run the training, everything is available.
Even sometimes they create these for courses where you need to have simulation environment and VM.
Yeah.
They create everything prepackaged for you. Yeah, I was overwhelmed when I went through those resources in the start. So it's a good way to even be remembered. That you are reminding me of them. So yes, those are some of the benefits that there are. I don't know if people have questions, So we've been saying a lot, but then I want to hear from people in the house. Anybody who is still not sure if this will make sense, and you might be right, it might not make sense, but at least hear from us our opinion about your situation and the exam, whether it will make sense for you or not. Anybody? We have a really quiet house today. Okay, yeah, Mr. Damilari, I can see your hand up. Yes, please unmute yourself and let's hear.
Good evening, Michael Ahmed, and thank you for the ginger knowledge you've shared so far. Please, I wanted to just clarify something. I missed the part about transitioning from DA-100 to the MCT. I didn't quite get that part. So what is required to get the MCT? That's the part I didn't get. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, so I can easily answer that. So the MCT, it's a program in itself that the name of the program stands for Microsoft Certified Trainer. For you to get it, you need to do a qualifying certification. So a qualifying certification, these are the list of the qualifying certification currently. So if you look at my screen, you will see, right? So right now, the DA-100 exam, which gets you this certification, Microsoft Certified DA, Data Analyst Associate, is one of the qualifying exams, qualifying certification. So the moment you have this certification, all you have to do is to now, there's a MCT enrollment tool. So if I click on the MCT enrollment tool, maybe I should just post this link so you can always look at it at your own leisure too. So the moment I click on this MCT enrollment tool, it will ask me to log in with my account. Now, when you log in with your account, it will automatically detect all of the certifications you have, and more importantly, if you have a qualifying certification. So in my own case, for you, when you are doing it for the first time, it will not be showing all these green. It will be showing step 1, number, creating your profile, and then step 2 is where it will try to check whether you have the qualifying exam. So like for me, the first year I was on the MCT, I got the MCT, which was 2017. Yeah. So I did the exam, Microsoft Excel Expert, right? So when I did it and I passed, because you get your score instantly, and then I came in here like the next day, it didn't detect the exam. It didn't detect that I've, qualified. So I went to search online. I tried to contact support. So they said, well, because it's a different body that handles the exam, Certiport handles the Excel exam. So they say it takes a bit of time for it to sync with the Microsoft system. So I'm just trying to explain that, yes, this thing has to detect that you have passed the qualifying exam. And then there's one other thing they ask for, because it's meant to certify you as a trainer. So they need proof that you have done training. And there are 2 ways. I think one is by getting a reference, which is the easiest, because almost everybody who I know who has done this MCT enrollment, we use that method because it's more straightforward. You just look for someone else who I think has the MCT already, or I don't even think it matters if the person is an MCT, and it does a reference for you. I don't know how well they vet it, but I don't think anybody has said his reference was rejected. And then there's the other one where you do metrics that matter, MTM, where that one is purely a feedback tool. Every training you want to do, you hook it up with MTM, and then the participants will get a link for them to fill a feedback for you. So, but like I said, they give you like 5 or 6 broad options for you to meet that other requirement of a proof that you have done training in the last 12 months, you've delivered training in the last 12 months. So those are the 2 things that are required for the step 2, the requirement stage, the exam, and then that one. And once after that, you pay. It used to be $100 for us in Nigeria, but then last year and I think this year they waived the money. So they said due to COVID, they are supporting people in IT. They are supporting everybody more now, and they've waived the fee. So to answer your question is that the link between the DA exam and the MCT is one of the exam qualifies you to meet the requirement or the main requirement for MCT. So once you have the exam, nothing is stopping you from enrolling for MCT. And I even think you should go and enroll, because most of the benefits that you will gain when you have the exam and you enroll in MCT is a lot more than what you will gain if you just have the exam and you do not enroll in MCT program. So I don't know if Ahmed wants to.
No, I think you already covered everything. So
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is very enlightening. Thank you.
Okay. And maybe just to show you something interesting, if you go on LinkedIn and you go on jobs and you search for Power BI, so let me zoom my screen. Zoom. Okay, I was wondering why was Zoom not nice over Zooming. Okay, great. This is clear enough. So if I search for things that are, in fact, I think I have a search already history. So if I search for Power BI worldwide, job roles that require Power BI, there are some of them that they're going to put explicitly that they need you to already have the certification. They just write it straight up there that you should have the certification. Let me see. I think there's one I came across that had it, and I was like, okay, that's really interesting. So yes, it opens you up to job opportunities, outside of the country too. These days now it's.
I think the last one you showed had it. He had that requirement.
The other page.
Essential one. The essential one. Yeah.
Let me go back to that page then. Essential. This essential one.
Yeah, I think at the bottom there's something.
Your eyes are really sharp. I didn't notice it. So yeah, see, awesome. They are even nice. They said even if you have the previous ones. So yeah, so there are hedges it gives in the job market, and think about it. If two people are applying for the same job role, and they're all saying with evidences, and as persuasive as they can, on the same level that they are very good in Power BI, and you think they are very good, and you are not sure which one to take, and then suddenly one of them says, you know what, I even have the certification. Obviously, that swings everything in his own favor, right? So that's one thing that it does. And also to reiterate, like for me that I even do training, doing the exam forced me to, I didn't know Dataverse. If I was doing a training and somebody was asking a question, what is Dataverse? I would be at a complete loss. But if the person has said what is common data service, I'm going to tell him, I can spend 10 minutes telling him even about the story, what Microsoft, was saying, that led up to it, because at some point there was a lot of active conversation in the MVP circles about the Microsoft data service, common data service. But I didn't know Dataverse, and so that's how it can even be for those of us who should be aware of everything that is happening. So let alone for someone who your job is not Power BI, you are not a trainer, you are not a consultant strictly on Power BI. Power BI is supposed to be a tool to help you do your job better and push ahead in your career. Then you find out that the certification is going to force you to be aware about some aspect of it that you probably will not have even come in contact with. And to wrap up the session, I like what Ahmed wrote in one of his posts recently, and that was about the new structure that has come with the exam regarding every 2 years you have to show evidence that you still have the skills. So I'll let you wrap up with that part. How do you think people should handle that? And
Okay, so unlike the previous exam, which was 70778, where you have the exam for life, you carry the certification for life, and you carry the title for life as well. Even if they retire the exam, you still carry the title. Now, the new exams that are role-based, they are timed, and currently is for 2 years. So if you pass the exam, your certificate is going to be valid for 2 years, as long as you write between now and when? Is it end of May? Right? Anything from June or July now, basically, is going to be 1 year each. So when you write and pass, your certificate is valid for 1 year. But that doesn't mean that you have to write another exam. What it just means is you need to come back to Microsoft Learn, which, this is Microsoft Learn, for example, And then you have to go through the resources again and take the quizzes on Microsoft Learn. So once you take the quiz and pass the quiz, then they are going to renew your certificate for you. And you know, the quizzes are open to, like, you can write as many times as possible. Like, I may decide to be sleeping all day, write today. If I don't pass it today, I'll come back tomorrow, write it again until I pass it, until my certificate is renewed. And they are going to open that from 6 months to your certificate expiry. So I can continue to fail every day until 6 months before my certificate expires. I'll now pass. So it's not difficult to maintain the certificate. It just means that you must update yourself with the latest resources. Because as they are updating the curriculum, they are also updating the document on Microsoft Learn.
Great. I was trying to show you what this certificate looks like. No, okay, great. So almost I keep getting lost in this their new portal.
So much.
Changing things. So let me show you what the certificate looks like. So I think with that we'll wrap up. Anybody has a question as we are wrapping up the whole thing? Okay, so so Microsoft have been chopping my money for certifications from 2016. So this is that one now. This is that MC. So if I click on it, I think there's a place to do a download or something. Yeah, download PDF. And then I just open it up. Great. So this is what the certificate looks like, and exactly what you said. So it now carries this valid until, so I think mine is still enjoying the 2 years. So from what you said, later this year, it will be, 1 year, and then 6 months to the end, you have to prove that your knowledge is not stale. You have to do some tasks, challenges, and pass them, and that will automatically renew your certificate. So I think that brings us to the end of today's session. The second guest, I have not seen him, on time is up, so it'll be nice if he too shared his own experience, but you said he was going to be in a clashing engagement that will end by 6:30, so maybe it extended. So thank you very, very much. And as Ahmed has said, there's a session that is running. If I go to your website, will I see the session? Will I see how they can register?
Yeah. If you go to, yes, I think it's probably the first thing.
So let me just go here. So if you feel motivated enough already and you want to join his ongoing class on it, then yes, let me paste the link also. So there is,
I think the first one up. Now if you go up.
This one, right?
No,
I should go
up.
down.
Yeah, so that's one. Enroll now.
Okay, this one.
Yeah, enroll now, yes.
Okay, great. So let me just copy this link and share chat box. So you can do a comprehensive, I like the word bootcamp. So you can have a comprehensive class that will take you through all you need to pass the exam. So thank you very, very much to everybody, and have a nice week ahead. So thanks you,
Michael.
Thanks for the time, and I know you need to go and rest.
Thank you for the free adverts.
You're welcome. I don't even have anything to, otherwise I will advertise my own, but I don't have in that domain. So it's nice. All right, so thank you, and bye to everybody.
Bye.
Yes.
Thank you very much.